Well, hello and welcome. Today I'm going back to the sea with another harbor scene. Just got in the mood to paint water again, so I'm just doing a little of that now. This is gonna be, yeah, like I said, it's a harbor scene. There's some really pretty reflections on the water, and kind of like a small beach area. So I think there'll be lots of opportunity for really pretty color transitions. And there's some houses on the shore a little bit further off. So I'll put those into just nice clouds. And I actually don't have any boats in the photo, but I might throw a boat or two in there. We'll see how I feel as I go. So just gonna get into it. I'm gonna work on canvas today, just because I think it will suit the sort of pretty gradients that I have going on here. I'm gonna go back to something that I was playing with for a little while, which was doing sort of a two color wet layer. So I'm gonna start with a fairly like blue purple for sort of my dark shadowy areas, and a lighter, maybe I'll even use white. I think I'm gonna do white, but with just a touch of yellow, just to make it a little bit more golden. Maybe yellow ochre, nothing too bold, but yeah. So maybe a dark purple and then a yellow ochre for a light. And I think that'll work well. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get into it. This should be mostly a knife painting. I'll probably brush a little too, but I plan to do mostly knife. Just gonna top up a couple colors that I think will be useful. Some Zephyr's blue. I've already got ultramarine and phthalo blue here. Got Viridian, but lately I'm not using it as much, so I'm gonna skip over the Viridian. And I've got my alizarin. Now, maybe I will bring the Viridian just for convenience. I might use it to mix some darks, so I'll put it out. But I'm not gonna use it, I don't think, for trees or anything like that. I'll mix my greens a little differently there. Let's see. Maybe I'm starting to think about green a little bit the way that I think about black, which is that, like, it's not a color that's often observed in its sort of most bright form in nature, or most intense, so it's better to make it out of other things. Let's see. So, and I'll need some white. So actually start by just putting a little bit of white directly onto my palette here, since I don't need to go into that white pile just yet. And I'm gonna mix that purple, which I think I'm gonna do ultramarine and alizarin crimson for that. There's my knife. Exciting. Alright, so yeah, I'll mix up my dark first. So let's grab a bunch of this ultramarine and a little bit of alizarin to start with. I'm going to keep this a little bit on the bluer side. Go ahead and add a little bit of my lavender spike oil. And a little bit of linseed oil. That should work well. Go ahead and mix this one up first. I might even put it on first too. Oh, it's a pretty inky blue. That'll be nice. thinking about continuing to try more blues. For some reason, it's the color I really love having a lot of different blues. The other things I'm like, one of each is fine. Blues, I really love blues. So, I'll just sketch a little bit in first. I'm going to go in with the brush in just a minute, but I do kind of sometimes like being able to lay out some of my shapes. A lot of this sort of island is in shape. Well, I guess it's more of a peninsula. And then I've got kind of a watery area here that's a bit darker. And then I've got some darker area here with these rocks. Yeah, let's go ahead and brush that out a bit. Putting a little bit of the solids into a jar so I can just dip my brush in. I'm not like going with a totally dry brush. This does not have to be okay. There's plenty of time to make changes in here. It's a nice way to start thinking about your painting early. Start thinking about how everything kind of moves inside of it. Got this little outcropping of rocks that's kind of behind the main set. These are probably stacked up to prevent erosion, I'd imagine. Also makes for a nice composition. Got some darker underwater. Alright, that's pretty good. And then I'm gonna put my brush down for a minute. Wipe off my knife. Go ahead and add a little bit of my, get the dropper back out of that. 2 drops seemed pretty good before with that. I'm gonna fill this jar back up. I'll do for now. Right. So mix this white in and just make it a little bit more liquidy, make it a little easier to put on. A little bit of yellow ochre into that. This makes it a little bit more golden, I think. Otherwise white can look a little too dead. Really, the light areas here where the sun's hitting it and warming it up a little bit, so I don't really want to have it look overly cool. I'd rather have kind of cool shadows and warmer lights. That's the theory anyway. So I'm just going to go ahead and start this off in a couple of spots where I feel like I want the strongest lights, but I'm going to go over all of it. I really don't need to probably do that too much. I'll actually switch brushes for a minute. And use my clean one. Just go in here. Start working in these light areas. That's okay if it picks up a little here and there. A little mixing is fine. Really, we're just trying to fill in the canvas so we have a nice wet layer to work into afterward. And then, as I go, and a little bit there. I think sometimes just having these sort of like faded areas can give you a lot of depth early on, which is kind of nice. We'll start up a painting. And take a little bit. I'm actually going to mix just a little in the middle here. Fill in. I'm just looking at my canvas weave here. Just want it all filled in. I don't want a bunch of squares. Not today. Not in a bunch of squares mood. Sometimes they can be helpful to leave, but not what I'm after right now. As I do this though, I'm kind of looking at these shapes and trying to build them up in ways that I think will help me later. So this is kind of a rockier edge here. A little bit more detail is sort of shore. Now I can start thinking about some colors and some shapes with a knife. So I'm going to wash off both of these brushes. I like that I didn't lay in a white layer under my darks right now. At least not under most of them. It will help really have it pop. Just have a little bit extra life to it. I think contrast is just really important in paintings. If you lose it, it takes a little more doing to get it back. This one down. The other one. Get some of that pigment out into the paper towel first. My hair's going everywhere right now. I've got a haircut scheduled. It's kind of like the longest length I can deal with it. I'm starting to actually have a little humidity in there again, so it just wants to go everywhere. Pretty nice and clean now. It certainly keeps your brushes lasting a long time too, which is nice. So I'm gonna stick with this little guy for a while. It's a good knife. I'm gonna start furthest back. I am gonna put a little color into the sky. I think this one should be fairly straightforward. I've got some clouds I want to bring in that are a little darker. I'm gonna take a little bit of this unbleached titanium and a little bit of my original blue-white color. Or blue, I guess, but put those clouds in. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna do a little Savage blue first, just along the top. I'll probably blend that in. That seems like a good idea. Just mix it in. I'm gonna mix it in a little bit, just a little bit to my white color here, just to start getting it to calm down a little bit. Still leaving a little bit, throwing a little bit of ultramarine maybe. It's a little intense for the scene. Maybe even a bit more this way. It's a strong color. Even though it's already got white in it, it's still a strong color. Alright, let's just go right across this top here. That's enough of that. That's a lot of that paint. So I'm gonna start, should go right back to my brush that I was using. Just cleaned it, but I think right before we even go much further, just run that. Let's go down a little bit here. Just get that to go in really nice and soft. Nice, easy sky. as I move my brush further down, since I really want this to be mostly the lightest blue up at the top, and I want this, as I go lower, I want it to be more white. It's only going kind of one direction, and I don't go back, ideally. Then down here, I've actually got some clouds that are going to be coming in here. So I'll just there we go. So now I'll wash this out one more time, I guess. There's really no danger in letting them sit either because they don't dry fast. Like, technically, if I don't need to use this brush again, I could just wait till the end. But I know it's nice to listen to, so it's good. It's good motivation to keep my brushes clean. All right. Grab my knife again. So start blocking in these clouds that I was seeing. They're kind of a warm sort of purpley shade. Kind of complement that shadow color that I started with originally. I'm just kind of letting these float in over the paint. The wet layer really works well for building clouds on top. Leaving a couple of sort of holes in here where it can stay lighter, where I'm seeing highlights in the clouds, and I'll go back in and make those even lighter later, but later. But for now they can just kind of sit there like that. So I'm seeing what colors are in here. Letting them vary a little bit too, though. These are kind of feathery here where they go behind this hill. Actually, I'm gonna drag it right over the edge of the hill here because I know I'm gonna define that a little bit better in a little bit. Pretty good. Grab it's got a little orange color to it, but I don't think it's going to come out of the brush. That's fine. Alright, it's this one. Just lightly brush over this. Clouds really look good if you kind of give them a couple of layers so they're not too sharp. If you paint them with a knife and then just leave them there, they won't look quite as good. So I like doing them in a few steps. So a lot of it will be kind of coming back and redefining these a little bit more later. But letting these colors I've put in so far kind of mix in a little first. Just taking a little extra care right at this edge here, getting those little squares filled in too. Okay, that looks pretty nice. Let's pop that one in the cleaner for now. Alright. So, next thing, now that I've got those in, I think I'm going to start. I usually like to work from kind of furthest away to closest, so I'm going to start by putting in some of these rocks, some of these shadowy areas, some of these houses. I think that will work out pretty well. So for that, gonna start mixing up kind of a mid-tone, so I need kind of a slightly warm gray. I think I'll use a little unbleached titanium and a little bit of raw umber. Let's see what that looks like first. It's actually pretty nice. Just a touch of linseed oil. I want these to kind of break up a little bit. I'll just start popping these rocks right in here. I'm going kind of gentle with my knife. Gonna layer in a few colors, I think. But I'm seeing this kind of warm edge here, so we'll start with that. And then as I go a little bit further back, it's where it actually looks a little bit more, I guess more of a blue-gray. I feel like it's like a little bit more saturated too. I don't know. I'll try that. Go a little dark. A little bit dark. Not quite as dark as this line that I have right now. Just popping that in over the blue. Then I've got a little bit of a sort of green. Take a little alizarin, a little bit cad yellow light, and a little bit of ultramarine. It's kind of a warm green. I'm gonna start kind of working in here too. That's kind of suiting this hillside quite nicely, actually. Just kind of working in a little bit of variation into this hillside here. This was a photo I took in the fall. I'm really enjoying looking through my old photos right now. I go through phases like that. Sometimes I only want to work with really good photos, and sometimes I only want to work with my photos. And it just goes back and forth a little bit. Good. Take this little brush in here. Just start putting in a little extra texture. I kind of want to keep. I'll try and do this in a way that feels really simple. I feel like sometimes I do a lot of extra, not extra, but I really like building up layers and doing different things to them. But I also think that sometimes that's a little more than is needed. And maybe it's good to try and do some things a little bit more simply. Kind of sketching in these just a little bit. Think about them. I'll come back and do them with a knife, but maybe just blocking them in a little bit simply first isn't a bad idea either. I like the way the knife works for buildings, but sometimes it's a little slower too. Sometimes it's good to be able to just get your idea out quickly. So you can kind of go over something and not lose your train of thought, I guess. As funny as that might sound. It happens. this is working really well for just creating a lot of variety. I'm bringing a little bit, I've got my colors kind of well set, but I also am kind of moving them into each other. And just creating a little bit of a mix. All right, keep moving along. Keep that little brush handy. Next color I want to do, so I want to start working, and I've got like a very dark edge here, kind of at the bottom of these rocks. I'm going to start kind of working it in a few different tones, actually. So here I've got, this one's a little bit lighter. It's still a lot darker than the rocks right above it, but it's a little bit more, a little warmer. It's got a little bit more sunlight. And then I've got a much darker one. It's going to go more or less with ultramarine and the kind of previous background color, dark color. Just let that stay nice and blue and dark. Could maybe even go a little darker. Maybe I'll go a little Viridian alizarin. See if I can set this up in such a way that I don't feel like going back into the darks at the end. I'd kind of like to leave the darks of the painting a bit thinner and let the whites really stand up. Something I've been kind of thinking about lately in terms of like how I structure things. And across, and just dropping down a little bit too. And I'll start bringing in some phthalo blue, because I've got more of a blue-green color next. And a lot of this sort of darker water. I'm going to actually try bringing the phthalo right into this mix that I have here with the alizarin Viridian. Just because I think it will dull it back a little bit and it'll still stay really dark. I'll try that. See how that looks. I like that. Actually, that works a little bit better. It keeps it a little bit more controlled, I think. This isn't a super, it's not a really saturated color. It looks like fairly deep water. It's fairly dark. It's pretty nice though. Okay. Keep putting this in here. Fill in a good amount of this in the darkest area. And then I'm gonna brush it down. Okay, let's try that out. So I'm gonna use like kind of short brush strokes as I do this though. So this water's very kind of choppy. It's not that glassy smooth water that I love to paint too. I feel like it's good to be able to do all the different moods of the water. My white's actually helping mix in here too. I'm just bringing this up a little bit. I can kind of do it a little bit in a controlled way. So like if I want to lighten an area more, I can brush it more. If I want to leave it sort of thicker and darker, I can leave that. I can like touch it less. So as it blends, it's gonna get more light. Leave a little bit of that there. So I'm seeing some different things going on. I think I might want to put a couple more colors in there, even. Actually got some more light and a little bit of yellow ochre even. It's a little bit more, so this line kind of weaves around. Let's do a little yellow ochre. I'm putting it on the side of this Zephyr's blue mix. Those are actually really close. Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna just drop a little bit of this in all along this edge here. There's this cool, I like this seaweed. I have to learn what it's called, but it kind of like floats in the water. It has like a dark shadow under it. But some of it, you can see it just kind of floating at the surface. And then there's a little bit more. Depth to the ones that are underneath here. So I'm going to probably hold off on putting those in because I want to lay in their shadow as well, but I'm even seeing a little bit of that over here. Kind of drifting across. Sometimes it's like stuff that seems really boring, like it can lead to like a really good painting. Like sometimes boring is good. I wasn't totally sure about this image. I was like, I've been thinking about it for a while though. Let's see. Like that. I'm gonna go a little bit more alizarin. This is kind of my blue that I was working with, and a little bit more ultramarine into this blue. So this is kind of transitioning this phthalo to a little bit more of a deeper purple, just in here. Kind of gets darker, and it also gets lighter. It's got a little bit more going on. I'm gonna take a little bit more white as well. White has a little Zephyr's blue in it, and that's okay. Start putting some white down in here, leaving this a little thicker. I think I'll brush it out and make it a little thinner too, but just kind of letting it stand up stand up for itself right now. Let's see. It's like actually a lot of colors mixed in here. It's not a clean knife at this point. But I think it's kind of working. Did I ever tell you guys I like painting? No, I just have a lot of fun. It's a really good time. It's coming along quite nicely. It's like a lot of great stuff in this water right here. Keep just building it up, coming forward. Maybe I'll take a little detour to the brush for a minute again. And just really just doing this to soften it a little bit. Create these little wave shapes a little bit, just coming a little closer, filling in some of these little dots. Trying to keep the paint kind of thick though, so it still has a lot of character to it. All kinds of activity out there today, I guess. It's looking pretty good. I think a lot of this, the colors are just really true and really rich. I'm gonna not mess with them too much. As I get a little closer, I want this water feels a little bit more calm. It's sheltered. I feel like a lot of this turbulence is kind of coming in along these rocks, and the wind is blowing more back here. So it's got kind of a choppier look, but here it's a little bit more toward the glassy and smooth. Let's start building in some of these sort of shadowy shapes that are under the surface first. So then I'm going to keep going with this sort of purple color that I've got. A little more ultramarine. I've got to go to the store. I'm gonna get a big tube of this next time. Big tube of that, and maybe I might get some Prussian blue too. I know it's another good one, and I just never really used it. I felt like maybe I have enough blues, but maybe I can never have enough blues. Just grab all of that. A little bit more alizarin. And I'm going to take a little bit of Viridian too. Just keep it nice and dark and not too any one bright color. A little bit of medium. And actually move it over and mix it in with a little bit of white. Just because I'm kind of seeing these shadowy shapes down here that are a little bit more. They're not quite as defined as some of the other shadows in this. really painting the bottom of the water right now. It's also a little bit, it does tilt a little bit green. A lot of this, a little bit green this way, a little bit more warm this way. So I might mix up a little bit of this Ceres ochre combo with a little bit of that dark in there. Yeah. Let's try that out. I'm going to put this on a little bit thin and then brush it because I feel like I'm going to want to work on the surface of the water too. So this is really, right now I'm just kind of working in the sort of sandy texture. Let's see, go a little bit more blue over here. I'm seeing that go away a little more. And then I'm trying to like peek through the water, see what else is in there. That's a good one. All right. Go back with the big brush on this too. Just kind of wanted to, I've got this one in my hand. I just wanted to use it, I guess. So just not worrying too much about this staying any one way. Just I'm gonna mostly kind of wipe it out. These are all underwater colors. It's just me painting the bottom of the ocean, bottom of the beach. Probably put some more of these shadow shapes in too. Keep working on those. Start getting a sense of these stones too. They're gonna be, not quite sure how I'm doing them yet. I just kind of sketch them in for now. Maybe that'll help me figure it out. There are a lot of them though. Maybe making these bigger than they actually are, just because. Otherwise it feels like way too many. And I'll probably be able to do something with texture here too. Sometimes texture is a good way to avoid having to do a lot of detail. But let's see. I've got most of the dark is on the right hand side, so I'm gonna start worrying about. It's like I've got the light. I think it's actually about noontime, which is not really the ideal time for photography, but I think I've got the sun basically overhead right here. Is that about right? Something like that. Might be like here. Looks like these shadows are going this way. Yeah, and even this is kind of, so maybe about there. Maybe like here. All right. So just keep grabbing a little bit of paint here, and I'm gonna paint in more of these shadows. Okay, we'll probably, maybe I'll brush that in a little bit more. One of these, actually, you know what? I'm not gonna do a brush. I'm gonna use this little knife. This one actually can be good for sometimes these kinds of shapes. I mean, they're literally rock shapes under the water. So I don't really want them to be, I want them just like a little soft on the edges. I don't really want them to be a totally brushed out sort of fade either though. So we'll try that out. It's kind of nice. Kind of a nice texture. And then the next color I want to put on top of that is sort of my underwater seaweed brown color, which I think I'm going to try a little burnt sienna, a little yellow ochre, and maybe go into this shadow color with both of those. A bit more linseed oil. See that? Actually isn't too bad. Maybe a little bluer. I do want it to stay kind of more underwater looking. So we'll start popping this in. Kind of just moving the knife over, wiggling it around. All the seaweed is kind of drifting as it sits. Just kind of dragging some of this out a little further. Getting the feel of the sort of drifting water. It's like the tide going in and out. Yeah, I guess that's really what it is, right? There are the waves. That's good. Okay. And then I think I want to go let that sit a little bit actually. Maybe I'll work on these rocks for a bit. So I've got on these rocks, I've got this sort of blue-purple shadow color, which I've already got kind of laid in here. Drift this out a little bit, just kind of create a little bit more of a shadowy base for that. And then take a little bit of my unbleached titanium and maybe a little bit of ultramarine. Just take that gray and make it, or take that sort of light brown tan, make it a bit more of a gray. Let's start laying in some of these lighted sides of these. That might be even a little bit light. Just took some of that other mix and threw it on top of a little bit more blue. These are going to vary a bit anyway. It's gonna have the houses. No, I'm not sure if I need the houses. I feel like this painting is kind of rocking without the houses. Alright, we need a little bit more of just a dark. Do this alizarin viridian combo. Quick and easy. Just throwing in some of these rocks that are sticking out just off the back of this pile. I think they'll be easier to put in now than later, so. Take my brush, just adjust these shapes a little bit too. I really don't want these to all look the same. I want them to have a bit of variety to them. I might be breaking my rule about light being round, though. I have to get back to that in a minute. Kind of a good feel to it. I think. Kind of getting to a point. I think I'm going to bring in some light and things like that, but I think that I might be getting to a place where it's best to let it be now. I'm going to try and put a little bit more character onto these. Some of these like very light rocks here at the top. I get a lot of sun comparatively. These look a bit bleached, or maybe they're actually just not covered in seaweed stuff. They actually might stay dry at the very tops of these. I think that's what it is. I want to start really working on the water lines in here, but I know that they'll get really messy. So there's a lot of like little ripples in water that's kind of weaving in between these rocks, and really helps them kind of like define their shape and makes them kind of look special here. But I don't think that they're gonna play too nicely with a a lot of what's happening. If I start mixing, I don't want blue mixing into all of this. I kind of want it to be special. So I'm gonna do the blue and the white and the little bit of the seaweed that goes on top here. I'm gonna actually put a little bit of that in right now. So I'm gonna do yellow ochre and unbleached titanium for that. Just sort of sprinkle a little bit in here. A little bit in here. Just let it drift. A little bit more yellow ochre. Just give it a little variation. Maybe even mix it a little Zephyr's blue. Kind of works. Yeah, I think this might be a good stopping point for this one before I do something reckless. I think that leaves me in a pretty nice spot to pick it up next time. Alright, I'll be back in a few. And I'm back. Oh, this is exciting. I'm liking how it's coming along so far. I'm really looking forward to putting in some more of the details and getting it kind of wrapped up. Okay, I'm gonna put the buildings in on the shore. As much as it's like, I think that it has this really like beautiful sort of pattern look to it right now, but I'd like it to have a little bit more of a sense of place. I think the buildings will also give me a little bit more scale. Because this is it's actually a pretty wide area, despite the fact that it looks a little bit compressed right now. So I might put some of the buoys in, and I do think I'm going to add at least a boat or two. Looking forward to putting in this water line over here. So I think I'm gonna start back and work forward again. Work back into my clouds. Yeah, I'll start there. Let's get a little bit of fresh, clean titanium white. Just put blob right there. Starting to think that might be even better than having a little nearby is good, but it gets messy fast. So start out the same knife I was using yesterday. Just finish cleaning this brush out. I let this one sit overnight in the cleaner because I had left it quite a long time ago to dry and never cleaned it. That was really hard. Now it's actually in really good shape. Beautiful. Alright. So start out with the same round knife that I was using yesterday. I like this one a lot for clouds, so grab a little bit of white, a little bit of linseed oil. Just put a little bit more linseed oil in my jar. It's getting kind of low. So just gonna go ahead and grab these poofiest clouds here. Just gonna pop those in where they belong. Seems like these clouds, for whatever reason, they're actually a bit puffiest on the bottom. Still simplifying them a bit. think I could get, I'm just gonna go one a little bit darker shade in here as well. Just kind of boost it up a little bit more, get a little bit more dimension in this upper area. Not quite as bright though. Just give it a little bit more layer. They're very fluffy. They've got lots of little ripples in them. I'm going to take a little filbert brush and just kind of soften these edges a little bit here. I don't soften them all up, just a bit here and there. It looks pretty nice, I think. A little wisp there. A couple of these very thin little edge highlights. Looks pretty good. And the other thing I want to do is just bring in a little bit more blue in this edge here. To me is feeling a little too purple. I'm gonna come in up here actually with some trees and probably come up through this purple, so that part I don't have to really worry about. But here, I actually want to give this a little bit of space. And I'm gonna use a little bit of ultramarine and a little bit of sapphire blue. Start there. I think that will be pretty close, and then just a little bit of white. It's a little bit darker under these clouds, which kind of makes sense. They're shading a bit. So just go around this edge here first. Grab a little bit of white just above that. Purple acted with a really good undertone on these clouds because they do have a very purple look to them. But feeling like a little too purple. Really good there now. There we go. Then right back over here, I've got a bit more of a darker blue here. I'm gonna use a little bit of phthalo into this. Just start working that in right there. Just a few touches here, just to sort of balance out that purple a little bit. I think that's about all it needed. I like strong colors, but that was a little much. All right. So I'm gonna come in here and do a little bit more with this whole beach area and these rocks, but mostly I want to start by working in these houses. For those, I think this blue shadow color that I just made is actually kind of nice. I'm gonna use my angle knife for this too. It's a little bit big for some of these, but I think it will work out. So, first thing I do is just grab a touch of linseed oil on this blue here. Just hold this up and see. Does that feels a little too bright still? So I'm gonna put just a touch of burnt sienna into that as well, just to dull it back a little bit. The front of this house, actually all of these houses are in shade for the most part, so I've got a couple of bright highlights for the roof and for one side, but for the most part they're going to be pretty mellow. So just drop that right in here. Just gonna do the whole front face of it. It's just a big rectangle. So let's start with that. I'm pulling it down and pulling it up. And I've got a little sort of dormer on the one side. So I'm gonna put that in. Flipped the knife one way and then I flipped it the other way just to use the short end of the knife for that. That's pretty good. Let's skip over all the lights on this house for now. I'll go over to the next one here. The next one's really kind of two rectangles and it sits a little bit lower. Not exactly the same color. Just added a little bit, just a little bit of white to this one. It's a little bit lighter, a little bit bluer. May not matter right now. This goes on nice and clean because the previous layer is pretty much dry, so it's a little bit easier to work with than it would have been yesterday. I would have been getting the purple mixed in and getting different things happening that I didn't want. It's making this a little wider. Pretty large houses actually. And I've got one more on the end, and that one's much darker brown. I'm going to use a little bit of alizarin, a little bit of burnt umber. Still mix it into this more cool shadow color. But I'm going to go across it because I don't want it to be quite as wide as my other house. This is more tall. Pretty good. And that one's got a little bit of a wall in front of it. I'll just add a little bit of blue to that brown and just kind of start dragging this wall shape down. Add a little bit of green in there. I just want to dull it a little bit. go. None of this has to be all that exact. Just trying to get this shoreline to read as approximately what it is. It's got some little slopes and some little walking paths down it, that kind of thing. Okay. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in some roofs. On this first house, I've got a pretty brightly lit roof and brightly lit side. So use almost a white with this actually. I'll do a little bit of actually this like off-white color will be good. And I'm gonna go just back just a little bit. And I'll use my small end of my knife again, just because I'm getting a little bit of a tight area here. Just touch the edge there. And I'm gonna come over here, put this other end in. I'm just gonna go across it carefully. Hopefully carefully. It's far enough back that if it doesn't look perfectly sharp, it will be fine, but I'll try my best. Okay. I got a little chimney or two here as well. Sun's really catching this stuff. Alright, that looks good. I've got this side of the building that needs to get put in still. And I'm going to add just a little bit of blue. Put in a line to see. No, that's two. Maybe I need a smaller angle knife. I don't know if they even make them smaller. This is a fairly little one. I really like this way of making buildings now. It's a little bit, it feels a little fussy at first when you're getting used to it, but it also, I don't know, they always have a nice look to them too. Oh, looks pretty good. The bottom of this one, I'll chop it off. A little bit more. Okay. That looks pretty good. And then this other one actually has a really dark roof with a little dormer. So maybe we go with the alizarin viridian combo. Touch of linseed oil. This has a sort of a, I don't know what type of wall that roof is called. It's like a gambrel. I don't know. It's like a barn-shaped roof. It's got two angles on it. And this sort of leans down, and then another one that goes more across. So just go and try and get that general shape. It's got a little flat part too. Put that on there as pretty good. And then cut its little window area out. A little bright, but it does seem like it's catching a little bit more light than the other area. It's got a little line on the side. It's probably where the dormers are angled out, I guess. It's pretty close to enough detail for the size of this thing. Alright, and then I've got this also lit side of this house. And this one's actually a little bit more yellow. I'm going to throw just a dash of cadmium yellow in. And not too bright though. I could have actually used yellow ochre, probably would have been just as good an option. Okay. I've got this and this. That's pretty good. Just fill in the rest of it. Okay. Just put the bottom of that in too. Not too bad. Okay. It's still pretty bright, but I think it might be okay. It's really getting a lot of sunlight there. It's just a little wide though. Maybe fix that up a little bit. Yeah, that'll work for now. And then this other house has a roof. It's not quite that dark. I'm gonna mix in a little of this, a little of that. It's got a very tall chimney on the side. Just catching a lot of light too, so take. I don't want it light. A little bit of alizarin though. Try that out. That's pretty good. Alright. Like that. Put a couple of little details on these. Just kind of indicate where some windows are. I'm not going to go too wild with it, but just kind of using a blue, putting some lines in. Okay. Same thing over here, except I'm going to use a dark color. Little smudges of where different things are. It's a little bit nice. It would look like it was just one. Well, I could do little, that's another option. Do these little dots. Kind of works. I like them. Alright, so now thinking a little bit of attention to this to the grasses over here. These are, they're barely green. They're kind of maybe some yellow ochre, maybe a little ultramarine, kind of a dark mucky grass color. I like that yellow ochre popping through though. It kind of helps show what we've got. Just kind of helps these look like they're sort of nestled in place a little bit better. Again, just covering up a little bit of this purple that is probably slightly distracting at this point here. I like it. I like it peeking through in certain places, but there's kind of an amount that's more right. I'm actually able to grab a little bit of this texture. Just get a little bit more variation into these rocks here. A little bit more shadow up top, actually. This is the time where you can really work some different variations in though. Once you have a good foundation. Alright, it's feeling pretty good. I did want to come up here with the trees a little bit higher. And so I'm going to do this yellow ochre, ultramarine, dash white. Maybe a little bit of the dark version too. Let's see. Alright, and I'm back again. I stepped back to check on, to just get a further away look at this, and I noticed that my phone said that it had stopped recording due to an unknown error. So I hope that you haven't missed very much, but it's possible that you missed a little bit. So I was just working into the water, just kind of adjusted this gradient a little bit here and just made this transition a little bit smoother. Still liking the impressionist style water. I think especially for when it's choppy like this, it really works pretty well. So I think the next thing that I want to do is refine these rocks a little bit. I'm going to go into some of these purple areas and just set them a little bit more to a neutral dark. And I want to work in some water lines and some reflections and pretty things like that, but it's getting pretty close, I would say. So for these rocks, I'm gonna do a fairly alizarin heavy dark with some, probably the Viridian thing, and maybe bring them up just a tiny bit with some bleached titanium, partially so that I can see what this color looks like. So it's a fairly deep red right now. Add just a touch of burnt sienna into that even. And I kind of want a warm earthy brown for these shadows. And just start finding little spots where I think that they should be. It's probably going to be most of these areas where I left the purple the most dark. Mostly toward kind of this side of the rock pile as well. And although I'm going to go in with a brush and just refine these shapes a little bit too. Kind of just pop in a little paint in there first. I was kind of hoping that I wouldn't have to refine the rock shapes very much. Or at least not the shadows in them very much, but it just they look a little too purple right now, so that's okay. A little of that. Somehow got a little bit too much linseed oil in right there. It's gonna get drippy. We don't want that. Go back to this brush here. I'm thinking about just smooth that out a little bit. Just having these shadows not be too interesting, actually. It's kind of better. I can kind of blend them in a little bit. I'll probably work on the highlights a little bit more too. These shapes are kind of nice. Kind of do a lot with the brush strokes here. I'm just introducing a lot of different colors in here too. Just kind of helps create these different forms a little bit better. They're not all necessarily the same. A little bit of white. Just kind of working it in now, so I'm not staying just in the shadows. I'm gonna actually stay out of the shadows now. Just gonna give these a little bit more. That's fairly good, I think. I don't think I need to do too much more with these. I'm just trying to to have them look like more natural shapes and not all like little circles. They actually are all pretty circular though. I've probably actually given them more variation than they actually have. Okay. Alright, next thing I'm going to do is I think I'm going to switch. I'm going to switch to a brush for putting in some of these water lines and edge reflections. I just think I need the control. But I'll mix up my color for that first. I'm actually going to mix up a couple colors for that. So one I want, I guess it's probably a lighter version of this blue here. That might be, let's just see. Take the average of all of this and get myself a little bit more space. That seems about right though. Oops. A little bit of linseed oil into that. Don't need very much because it's going on with a brush. And then I want a more golden yellowy one, which I'm going to do a little yellow ochre, a little bit of unbleached titanium, and probably some bleached titanium as well. I think it just needs a lot more lightening. And that one, that's going to be more my kind of warmer highlights and ripples that are closer. Probably vary that a little bit. I might get some whiter ones in there, but add a little bit of linseed oil with that too. Maybe I'll make an in-between version. Kind of seems like that might be handy. I do think when I know I'm going to switch to a brush, it's good if I can think ahead a little bit and mix up a couple colors, because I tend to mix a little bit lazier with the brush. Just what happens. So I'm going back to the stagger brush that I recently got. I'm going to just grab some of this lighter blue here, and the first thing I want to do is start grabbing these bottom edges of some of these rocks that are floating a little bit further away. Just give them their own space. There's a lot of little areas in here. Maybe this isn't the brush for this. We'll see. I found it to be pretty versatile so far, but might be a little too flexible. I don't know. We'll find out. Okay, so there's a lot of little rocks that are just kind of, they're floating at the edge of this pile, and so they actually have water all around them, unlike the sort of bigger pile of boulders here that doesn't. So just trying to work that in. It's a little bit tricky. I think it's gonna work. Maybe even go over this with a little bit more white. But start with this. And this water line, it's kind of coming around all of these rocks here. Some of these might get a little bit more definition through this process. We'll see. going into some of these a little bit more golden areas here. I'm just wiggling this to create these like surface, I guess they're like little surface ripples in the water. Don't really have so many of those far away, but there's a lot of them close. I need to go a little bit lighter on that one. Which probably really means I should have gone a little bit darker before this, but that's okay. It's still recording. No unknown errors this time. Let's hope it stays that way. Should have been a little darker here. I'm actually gonna adjust that. I think it will be worth it. Do these little, yeah, it's like wanting to do those little light ripples there. It's almost like a little web of them, but I don't know. That would be a lot of lines. So I'll try and do my best approximation of that. Okay. I love all the little things that the light can do on water, though. It's really addictive to paint. If you can do it without getting mad, anyway. It's also challenging, but it's kind of good challenging. Putting a little bit more weight into my blue highlight color for back here. Just going in here, trying to make some of these shapes a little bit more horizontal because I had to kind of weave them in and out. They were a little complicated, but I think they're getting there now. A little bit more white. Just keep building it up. Especially like right around these rocks, actually, because the water's hitting them and kind of splashing and doing things. They get even brighter in their immediate surroundings, I guess. little bit more blue in here. Maybe that's actually a little bit of this green. As I kind of work into this, I'm getting to see more of where the water kind of belongs in comparison to all these other shapes. So realizing I got a little light on the top of these rocks here. Just kind of stands them up out of the water. Pretty good. Trying to get these kind of balanced, but not too crazy either. Decent. A little bit of careful blending. This is good for that. Maybe like a little plane there. That's very good. Let's see. I'll step back one more time. That's pretty nice. I'm gonna do just a little bit more. Sort of, I'm gonna even take a little cadmium into this and just pop a little bit more highlight onto these seaweed bits and just a couple spots. Don't want to overdo them. Just give them a little extra oomph here and there. Particularly close to us. And the other thing I'm seeing is a couple of spots back here. A little bit more shine. Again, it's kind of these areas where the water's hitting something that's disturbing it. So you actually get, it's like it's automatically kind of bringing your attention to some of these things in the water. I think that's good. Yeah, I think I'll leave this one here. Mostly. Just getting rid of a little bit of extra texture on these houses that I feel like doesn't really add. Cool. All right. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope you have a wonderful day or night, or whatever you're off to next.